What happens when everyone stops watching the same thing at the same time? Tonight on The Rundown, we're exploring how streaming and on-demand media have transformed shared experiences, storytelling, and culture itself. Have we traded community for convenience? And what happens when everyone is watching a different story? Let's get to it. Welcome to The Rundown. Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Rundown. Good to see you all. Good to see my friends. Hello, Tamra.
Hello.
Good to
I love
see
our little
you.
dance party, USA.
Little dance party, yeah. I think I'm dancing. I'm excited. I love being able to do the show at home because I live an hour from my home. And so if I do the show at my office, it means I don't get home till 11:30 at night. But I'm especially grateful tonight because they tore my office up. I have no floors. Half my wall is gone.
Oh my gosh.
Everything still works unbelievably. Like I didn't have to unplug anything so far, but yeah, they're putting it all back together this weekend.
Is this like the summer renovation, or are you?
This is some summer renovation.
Or are you
yeah.
full year round?
No, it's a summer
'Cause you teach
renovation. So
littles.
I'm just very happy that I have another place to hang
We're happy to have you.
my microphone. Well, thank you. I'm happy to see Tony Mobley. Hello, sir.
Greetings, sir. How are you?
I'm doing really well. How are you doing?
I have no complaints.
Good. I caught a little bit of last night's show and I really enjoyed it.
Fantastic.
I missed the name of your guest. That was my biggest problem.
Dr. Peter Smith.
That's who it was,
Dr.
right?
Peter P. Smith.
Peter P. Smith on higher education. It was really, really interesting.
Yes. He's done a lot.
Yeah.
Former lieutenant governor, former congressman,
Wow.
founding president of the California State University at Monterey Bay, also the founding president of Community College of Vermont.
Oh, wow.
And that's just a little bit.
That's
Worked
the
for the
beginning.
UN and
Just the
Paris.
beginning. Amazing. Great.
Please
great,
go
great
check
show.
it out.
Yes, definitely.
Please.
Let's and while we're checking that out, we'll check out Lois Richter. How you doing, Lois?
I'm doing very well. It's hot here, though. I'm in California, and it was 95 today. It's supposed to be 101 tomorrow.
Gosh.
But it's a 4-day heat event, and then it
it's a
comes
dry
back
heat.
down.
It's a dry heat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it's much better than it being 90 degrees and 90% humidity. Yeah.
Which is exactly where I am. Thank you for reminding me of
Yes.
that. Yes.
I'm sorry about
Dave,
that.
how are you doing up north?
Well, I'm interested in how perky you are today. I don't know what's got you so happy, but it's great to be with you. And I'm really looking forward to this.
Am I perky? Really?
Yes.
You're perky today.
You're
Yeah,
kind of
very.
perky.
Yeah.
Gotta have some perk.
You're a little subdued usually as the host, because you got a lot on your mind and stuff.
need
But
to
today
figure
it
out
seems
why.
like you're in a happy mood.
I actually had a miserable day, but I'm really thrilled that I'm
well,
perky.
We're here to change that. Yes.
Your office was torn up, so you got to come here.
I guess that's what. But you know what really makes me perky?
Sky Gleason.
What? You caught me perking.
It's
I was
percolating.
perking all over the
Percolating.
place. And okay. You remember when we used to have just one phone number and one letter place that we got letters?
Yeah.
And that's how maybe once a day we got news on 6 p.m. Thank you, Walter Cronkite.
Yep.
You caught me texting on my laptop while I was supposed to be on camera with you. I'm so embarrassed. I'm ashamed because I have 13 places of distractions.
Yes.
You do with your daughter. You're not
Indeed.
wrong. While you're chatting with Talalik over on YouTube, I see who's important. Popping.
Sorry.
What did you call me? Perky?
You're
Mr. Perky to you.
You're perky.
Mr. Perky.
Oh my Lord. Time for the news.
You're welcome.
Wow, what a week. What a week. So when I originally put this first news story in, they had not yet dropped Claude Fable. I guess we'll get to that in a moment. But so Anthropic suggested, in a very strange way, I thought, suggested that we should all slow down. Like this whole AI thing, that they're about to do, they're about to do $1 trillion valuation on their IPO for. Maybe we want to slow down a little bit. So what they essentially said is that in a couple of years, I think it was a couple of years, they said that Claude is going to build itself. And so, right. So here's what we've got going here. You've got all these workers, and then now all of a sudden Claude is building itself. And this is, they say, problematic. It's really challenging. My sense is that this was born out of the, I forget the name of the model. Before it was, oh goodness, what was that model called?
Mythos?
Yeah, Mythos. Thank you. My gut is that when they saw Mythos, which has apparently unbelievable coding and error bug finding capacities, that they started to really think about, oh my goodness, now we can, the code can do this itself. What's so ironic to me is that they released this, I guess it was earlier this week, maybe the end of last week, and then they released the consumer version of Mythos. They released Fable, which I haven't had a chance to play with, although I did just sign up for a month. Whenever they do this, I sign up for just 1 month of Claude to play with it. And but all the videos that I've seen on YouTube are just, people are blown away by the capacity of this thing. It's just unbelievable. So I don't know. What do you all think? Pause? Keep going? Do we trust the AIs to build themselves? What do you think?
Do we have a choice?
Well, that's a really good question. That's actually the question, I think, Lois.
Yeah.
Because the critiques of this idea of, hey, let's slow down, is, well, great, we may slow down, but the bad guys aren't going to slow down, and the other companies aren't going to slow down. And so,
well, and that's what they said.
Right.
That's what they said.
But they were arguing essentially for a world, a kumbaya sort of moment around, shouldn't we all agree?
Well, we've seen this movie before, right? I mean, how old is Jurassic Park? What was the famous Jeff Goldblum line, Tamara?
I'm not going to quote films.
Just because you can doesn't mean doesn't mean we should. Did I get that wrong?
I think it was stolen from other things.
In the paper, they refer to the SALT treaties, the nuclear programs, and getting all the countries, of which there were only 8 at the time, to agree to control what they do and secure it more securely so that others can't use it, and that proliferation would stop. It took, about 20 years. But we had, at that point, a incredible demonstration in 2 Japanese cities of what we were looking at. We haven't seen a devastating AI event yet. We've heard some people tell stories of how it wiped my hard drive, or it killed my server, or it did things with my credit card I didn't want. And these are 1 or 2 or 3.
Dave. Now you've done it.
Yeah.
You've
said
it. The cat is out of the bag now.
Yes. So all we need now is for some government agency to have an AI take over, and suddenly nobody can drive a car anymore because they did something.
But
and
see, Dave,
I think
I think their argument is even worse than that. I think what Anthropic is putting out there is not that the agents or the chatbots or whatever can do
bad
harm.
guys.
It's that they can create them other chatbots, other agents. It's that recursive self.
Well, yeah, but that's the doomsday scenario, isn't it? That we become less valuable as they ignore us and go on to run the world the way they want. And okay, so maybe their world is going to be better. Hey, great, we'll all be happy. But we are not sure of that. And we weren't sure that nuclear power was going to power everything, right? And we had to kind of stop when 3 Mile Island came to you guys, and now we've had Chernobyl over in Ukraine. These kind of disasters put everybody on the back foot and say, maybe we're going too fast here.
Right.
So I'm just saying, until we have a
work. did start work.
Start worked? Absolutely. Yes.
I thought it's gone. It's stopped. It's not in effect anymore.
Well, the people signed on to the treaty and then had the controls in place, but that world doesn't exist anymore. Just 8 countries.
So
we have
in the
about
time
20
that it
countries now
existed,
with
it worked,
nuclear
yeah.
power. Yeah.
Tony, go for it.
I would argue that I believe that the AI that they're concerned about already exists, and that not only does it already exist, what their concern is not so much that it will get out of control, that they don't want other countries to have an AI that will get out of control. And so that's what I think is the main issue. On the flip side, there could be an argument for controlling, like right now, everybody has kind of access to AI. So if you slow the roll down, slow your roll, then there is this idea that some people will lose access because, quite frankly, I see AI, or maybe not so much AI, but technology in general, as a great equalizer for underserved communities. And so I just think that there's a mixed bag about this whole conversation.
Well, it could be a great equalizer, or maybe it could be a great divider. Tamara, before I throw to you, I just want to share this one little quote from the article. It's talking about Claude's use of Claude. So Claude today, as of May 26, writes more than 80% of the code we merge into Anthropic's code base. 80%. And it's grown 70, 80, it's grown over 70% in the past 3 months, 4 months.
The invention of the loom increased productivity in materials and weaving exponentially for a good 30 years. So this is like an industrial revolution in this sense.
Yeah, unbelievable. Go ahead, Tamara, sorry.
So I'm struggling a little bit with this whole thing because I read it and I feel like it's the most on brand document for Anthropic. Like, this is a company that was, people left OpenAI because they were like, this is not safe, and so we want to create the safer version. And at the same time, they rolled out their IPO, and at the same time, they have rolled out a model that they have like cordoned off for people that are not part of their special group. And I think
do you know how they cordon it off, by the way? They did something really interesting. If you ask about certain things, if you ask about biology, and there was something else, it automatically shifts you to Opus or one of their lesser models.
Right. Which I think is, I mean, I'm one of the people who's been saying we have to have some kind of guardrails on this technology because I'm a science fiction fan and, we know where it could possibly go. But I would push back. I think that what we've seen this week with all of our little AI friends is totally antithesis to what Tony believes AI to be. I think we are merging more and more into a model where we have haves and have-nots. The rate of which corporations are dropping ChatGPT and Claude because the token economy is too expensive, it will be too expensive for us. We will not be able to play.
And we'll have to talk about that when we get to Apple also, because that's, according to some people, that's what they're trying to address. Sky, jump on in, and then we'll maybe jump over to the Apple story.
Well, I think we need to bring Matthew Broderick back because before he was Ferris Bueller, he was on the little movie called War Games. And again, in the quote, see, Lois, you are a person of a certain age. And what, maybe you can quote. Apparently, I'm trivia man tonight. What was the quote from War Games? and now that we can read our lips, because we are all a people of a certain Zoom.
Would you like to play a game of tic-tac-toe?
And at the end of the movie, the only way to win War
Is to
was
stop playing.
not to play. So ethically, we've been down this road since man began, Cain and Abel. So consequently, are we just doing it faster? Is this just a faster way to kill each other? I don't know.
And on that depressing topic, David,
right,
what's
exactly.
going on with Apple?
Exactly.
Anyway,
Talking about nuclear war and SALT treaties.
Well, so let me draw the
I just
line
put a
then.
face to it.
Right. So the other big news story was WWDC, I think. But here's the take on this that I think is really interesting, and it comes from everyone's favorite AI commentator and teacher, our buddy. Oh my God, what's his name?
Nate.
Not Paul.
Nate.
Nate. Who, by the way,
All hands up for Nate.
since we last mentioned him,
Nate with the
he's
beanie.
really upped his video game. I just want to say, he's got little graphics flying around now and stuff. He's got a cool little logo. It's very nice.
He's from Seattle.
He had a couple of videos this week that were really fascinating, and he was really trying to reframe WWDC, and specifically the announcements around Apple Intelligence, and Siri AI as Apple shifting, playing a different game, essentially. That everyone else is playing the chat game, everyone else is playing the cloud game, and Apple is saying, no, you know what? What's really going to matter, what's really going to be important, and in some ways, Tony, what is going to help level the playing field, because you're not dealing with tokens, is what's on device. Let's give people enough on device to do the everyday stuff that they need to do, and then the people who need more than that, then maybe it becomes less of an equal playing field. But let's just, what were your takeaways from here's Apple Intelligence, Siri AI and Apple Intelligence. My thing shifty. Oh, and now it's gone. Look at that.
I've got a lot to say, so while you're figuring things out there, I could maybe start. But Apple is able to do the slow rollout because it's not their revenue source. Anybody who's just doing AI has to have a revenue source, and Apple can take its time because it's not going to impact its revenue. They make the money off you buying the phone that uses the AI from Apple. Two things, and one is Vision Pro related, so you'll have to put up with me, and the other one is not. So in Vision Pro, they will be giving us a chance to use our own panoramas as environments. So right now they offer about a half a dozen environments where you can work on the moon, or you can sit off on the moon of Saturn and that sort of thing, and it's all wonderful video. But you'll be able to take panoramics of places you've been and done to look at, to wrap around you so you're working inside that environment. That's just a great thing for productivity. The other one is that the mouse cursor, when you're working with the virtual screen and using your laptop to do all that work, when you look away from the screen to something that is a Vision Pro app, the mouse stops, it disappears. And when you have to look back at the screens, then your mouse goes back to action. I've had this work terribly for me. They're coming up with the mouse will travel to the other apps. So we have a thing called connectivity where your iPad can be a monitor and your mouse can travel from your laptop to the iPad. Now they've got it traveling into your Vision Pro. It's a little dot like it is on the iPad. And it's really going to make productivity advance there, because now you're interacting with the apps people make with a mouse on your laptop, and a mouse, of course, a super mouse that you can get from Apple, which is Bluetooth. So those are the two Vision Pro ones. Reframing and realigning pictures blew me away. It's been LiDAR for many years on these phones, and now they're using that data to allow you to reposition a person in a picture. If they're just slightly off this way, you can turn them, and it generates the rest. It's quite something. And faster and more reliable AirDrop. I think everybody's going to love that. And AirDrop use will grow double. And I'll say 70% of all AirDrops are going to work better because of this improvement. I've not got a demo or anything or a developer's version yet to see if it works. But I know everybody I talk to has occasional AirDrop problems, and sometimes it works really well, and sometimes not so much. And this is the person who lives in the house with me, and for Lois's benefit, watches TV with me on occasion.
Yeah, go Sky, go for it. Yeah,
I loved. I only saw the first several minutes, and it was talking about how security is their priority goal for young people, and how that they're building trust. So consequently, they were selling the continuing idea that we are a corporation, we are going to provide a service, and it's a service that in the land of disbelief and land of mistrust, we are not that company. So that they went on to introduce Siri as a part of the new experience as somebody that you can trust. And now that she's going to be our concierge into the universe of, all things knowledge and all things wisdom, that's what I took away from it. Because again, how many tens of millions of iPhones are there in the world now? And so again, that they're keeping the existing customer base happy and placated. I don't understand, Claude. I don't know what this LLM means. I don't get it. Oh, but I know Siri, and she's already my friend. And now I can make her voice sound more like,
right, a better voice. Yeah, that was one of the big wins, I think, was the voice piece. Yeah, I'm glad that you brought that up, because we didn't mention. I mean, this was the third big thing that they talked about. So the first big thing was all the little changes, all the little improvements, the corner rounding on windows, and
fixing
the fact that you have a slider now to adjust the transparency or translucency. There was a lot of that people were asking for.
It was a slow news day.
Yeah. The second big thing was child safety, which I thought was fascinating.
There you go.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And on MacBreak Weekly, they were talking about how that was really aimed squarely at the EU and trying to address the concerns that the EU was raising.
Because the EU took Microsoft down, and they spent 10 years and millions of dollars, and very many happy lawyers got paid.
Yeah, I agree with that take, but I'm also excited about it because there are a lot of parents who it's so much easier than anything else in terms of parent controls, and they have defaults that were researched. So if it helps one kid or 10 kids, it doesn't really matter to me that it was designed
I agree with that 100%. The one thing that they are still missing, which is so frustrating, is multi-user support.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Right now, if I want my kid to use an iPad, I have to buy them an iPad. I can't give them mine because I can't put those parental controls on it, or else I have to deal with the parental controls.
Right.
There's no multi-user support, and it's just miserable. And I, as an aside, from a school perspective, I own iPads in the school. It's miserable to use them multi-support in a school also. Just getting them all set up.
Well, you could just get a disposable Chrome.
I mean, I worked at a school that had all of these things locked down, and I got like a call. They're like, I can see that you're looking up Wizard of Oz, but the word wizard is tagged, so you can't get into that. Wow. I was like, oh my God. Mm-hmm. So it's not great all the time. I understand locking down.
There was a hidden, I haven't heard anyone talk about it yet, but at the very beginning of the AI piece, I forget who it was, maybe Craig Federighi, said something to the effect of, many companies rush into AI, but he didn't have to say anything else. That was at the same time a dig at all the other companies, and it was trying to give a reason for why they're so late to the game. They could not acknowledge how broken it had been for the past 2 years, but there was just a little bit. This was intentional. We were so intentional.
Good on them for putting the cart back. But I'm glad that they're able, because the truth of the matter is the long-term projection for them is potentially to come out on top because they own the hardware that everyone is holding in their hands.
But that's the key.
And that's the key.
Right. The winner of this, ironically, is not necessarily going to be the one with the best model. It's going to be the one with the best tool through which we can access the model. And
see,
it would have been nice if they told themselves that a couple of years ago.
I agree.
Did their stock price go down?
Hold on.
Did their stock price go down?
It always does after an announcement. Yeah.
Go ahead, Lois.
So, David, you said your iPad wasn't multi-person, but isn't an iPad about the same price as a Mac computer or a laptop? I mean,
no.
Why not just get a laptop and share that with your kids? Because that's a multi-person tool.
It is, but it doesn't have nearly the creative energy that an iPad. I mean, I think my kid can't touch it. They can't. It's not nearly as intuitive as an iPad, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, speaking of someone whose wife pretty much monopolized his iPad, I went out and got her one. So it's like you buy one book and the other person keeps it forever, and then you have to go get another one.
And look, Lois, there's nothing wrong with buying your kids an iPad, and of course I understand why Apple's doing it, but if we're also thinking about sort of that level playing field that we always come back to, this is not encouraging at all.
But an iPad is not a computer, and I think that's what.
Whoa!
You've been away.
Real pain.
You've been away.
No, what I'm saying is a computer has more oomph. It has more power.
No, you haven't used one lately. That's your
wrong?
issue. Yes.
Yeah, if you've looked
There's an M4 chip in an iPad Pro that is that's more powerful than this laptop I'm using now.
Yeah.
So and a keyboard and mouse object goes with an iPad now.
They really
so
have the water's
computer.
It's become a lot more gray. I get where you're coming from, Lois, because I'll get rid of everyone else. I agree with you 100%. I'm not an iPad guy. Can someone mute him? I'm with you. It's not a computer to me. But I think that they really have blurred the lines quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. You just
funny
want to
though that
more.
The reactions though. We had this twitch.
It was like an epileptic, right?
What?
My iPad 2 was not as good as the computer.
Tony, go ahead.
No, it doesn't have big clickety keys. That's the difference.
Well, it could. It could.
Mine does.
Tony,
you could plug it in. Hey,
in.
Tony.
Go, Tony.
My argument is that it is a computer. And not only is it a computer, we have an actual example that Tamara already knows because her mother is using one. Mm-hmm. It has the phone chip in it. And I've been saying to anybody who will listen, particularly young people, that you have a pocket computer that makes phone calls.
Yep.
And that's kind of where I stand with this whole thing.
That's my pocket computer that makes phone calls.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
Roscoe Jones is suggesting that Apple house robots are coming. By the way, I'll just say, Roscoe, I was fascinated that they didn't talk at all about Apple Home, Apple whatever this stuff. They didn't mention that at all, and I was surprised by that because I was surprised by that.
Well, there's so much to roll out. I mean, they got to save something for next time.
I know.
It's probably mostly it's a software issue. WWDC is for developers and not for hardware people. So,
but they
but then the house robot, house issue is a software issue, right? Where manufacturers are going to have to be friendly with the home system and the home kit that controls all these things from their devices.
That's a market that no one has fully cracked yet. There is not one leader in the home tech market. At least I would argue there isn't. It's like in my house, it's all like duct tape and chewing gum together. I got the Google thing there and the Amazon thing there and the Apple thing. It's ridiculous. So boy, if Apple could come up with like a really solid HomeKit system that had this AI stuff deeply integrated.
Again, Microsoft tried that. And they didn't capture that market either. And
but I would argue that's because that's Microsoft. I don't want Microsoft in my house either. Sorry.
I don't want my house run by a tech
No, but
anyway.
that's
I
it.
mean,
It's
The last thing, on
level of
WW.
trust with consumers than Microsoft. You use Microsoft because
No,
you have to.
just your bank.
Sorry.
Your
No,
bank.
you do. Use Microsoft because you have to. Use Apple because you
Yeah.
choose to. I just think that's the way it is.
The last thing on WDC that I really was impressed by is that Siri in Vision Pro
Yeah.
is a crystal ball.
Right.
You ask the crystal ball the future, and it tells you.
You know what it
is
should
Dave
be?
the loveliest one on Rundown? And then it says yes.
You know what it
and
should
then
be?
I'm
it should
happy.
be an avatar. A little avatar.
Well, it's a
pop
globe.
Up, like
it's a little globe that actually glows.
So in the,
Well,
in the
yeah, but
vision,
then you'd have to decide what she looks like, or he looks like,
That's
or
true.
what you're doing with the
maybe
voice.
in
Yeah.
the-
in the vision of
So-
things, Talalik is joining the conversation on YouTube, and he said, after I talk about the war games scenario, he said, yes, a human wrote that. So the punchline of what we were discussing was, if AI is going to take over the world and start writing the scenarios and our future. So Dave, as you look into that crystal ball, did a human write that? Do you trust the crystal
David?
Siri?
I
Yeah, go ahead, Lois.
have a basic silly question. You guys all know this. What is WWDC? What does it mean?
Worldwide Developer Conference.
We could have done it one at a time. It would have been like,
Yeah.
You mean all four of you? Yeah.
It's where all the developers for Apple
Got it.
Get
we had
together
rehearsed
and-
it beforehand. Come on, guys, get with it. One step, two step.
Well, I thought it was a great test for, a radio announcer to get warmed up. Let's try and say Worldwide Developer Conference 4 times.
WWDC. Okay. Shall we?
Next.
Shall we?
Yes.
Is that okay? Yeah, we'll
Yes.
do it.
Yes,
All
the
right,
wind
beautiful.
is coming.
For decades, certainly when we were growing up, media consumption was synchronized, and it was appointment viewing. Television networks told us when we were going to watch whatever we wanted to watch. If you missed an episode, I remember when people were not allowed to post. Even today, people are not allowed to post. But today, you can watch it right away. You can watch the rerun right away. But you had to wait for a rerun. And because of that, culture operated on a shared clock. We were all talking about the same things because we had all watched them the night before.
Okay, true confessions. When VHS was the only way to record something, I don't know who it was. It might have been me, but I don't think it was me. That the only VHS tape we had was my wedding. So we now have a copy of Friends, but no copy of my wedding.
That's fantastic.
I want to go back before we had
over
VHS.
your wedding.
Right. I would say let's go back.
I don't know how that. No, I'm not saying I.
Oh
I
my
just,
gosh, that's funny.
That's
That's
horrible.
fantastic. Yeah.
Well, that's where it
and horrible.
started, right?
See?
Isn't that where it
There you
started?
go. There you go.
What, with
VHS?
Friends?
Asynchronous viewing. No, with people being able to record the show. Like they go out for dinner and the show is
Right.
on. Well, they're going to get it when they get back, and then they can watch Friends because
And-
they didn't miss it.
And
But let's-
zap
it
through the
became
commercials.
Sure,
Let's
but
go
it
back
became
further.
asynchronous and not even shared.
Yeah.
You were in tune with what everybody else saw, but you weren't sharing it at the same time. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Before you could record, though,
Right.
it's like, I'm going to watch I Love Lucy. It's on tonight. There it is. And if I missed it, there was no, they didn't even record a lot of these shows. They were done live, and they were just gone.
Ironically, Lucy was the first show to be recorded. Yes.
Yeah.
Was it really?
One of my first jobs was as an
Yes.
intern on As the World Turns, and they had a big cabinet or a room of tapes, and they were like, "Can you go through and organize the tapes?" And it was the greatest job in the history of my life, even without getting paid, because they had chroma keys, which was basically, for you might not know what a chroma key is. They would be shooting live, and then they would shoot a camera at the screen, at the camera, and get this kind of grainy, roundish version of the live show. And so I would go through and I was like putting these chroma keys of these shows in. And one of the old directors came behind us and he was like, oh, I directed this. And he goes, there's going to be a scene change right here. And it was incredible because you barely knew the scene and costume change was happening like right in front of you. So there are actual, some of these recordings do exist in chroma key form as opposed to any kind of tape.
Some of them were recorded over.
Yeah,
because
I'm sure they were.
Tapes were so expensive that I heard that they went, and like Doctor Who episodes are gone.
So let's make let's make the rounds real quick. Hold on. So we'll start with you, Sky. What was the show or one of the shows
Sunday night
was appointment viewing for you?
Disney Sunday night World of Color, because Walt Disney would take us on a journey and we get to go to Disney World, or not. Well, Disney World didn't exist, Disneyland, and we get to go on the rides. I'm in Kansas. We didn't get to do a lot of, I mean, the circus or the fair that would come to town didn't compare to what Walt Disney gave us on Sunday night, World of Color.
Wow. Dave, what was your...
And it was color. And it was color, by the way.
And it was
I remember the black and white.
Dave, what was your appointment viewing?
In my family, we all, 7 kids, 2 parents, sat down to watch Wayne and Schuster.
Do you remember what channel?
Channel 4.
Channel 4.
CBC. So Wayne and Schuster were a comedy pair, and they were kind of like Laugh-In for Canada. And they had quite a show, and a bit of a variety show too, but Wayne and Schuster were the 2 comedians. They actually went to the States for a while and became famous for a little while, but then that kind of TV disappeared.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was appointment TV. I'm also, I'm with you on Disney and Ed Sullivan. Yeah.
Yeah. Lois, what was your appointment viewing?
So I unfortunately don't remember that far back. There was George and what was her name? His wife, who was the ditziest person in the world on camera.
Oh, George Burns.
George Burns. And what was his wife's name?
I'm gonna blank on that one.
Anyway,
Phyllis?
Gracie.
Gracie. That's it.
Gracie.
George and Gracie.
George and Gracie. Absolutely.
And
it took 4 brains for that to happen, by the way. No AI involved, 4 brains.
I've been yelling it, but I was muted.
So I'm not sure that was the first one. I'm sure there was things when I was younger, but I do remember that show. That was a good show.
Tony, what's yours?
Oh, that's a hard one. I want to say Gunsmoke, but I really think it was FBI. I need to say FBI.
Or Dragnet.
Sponsored by Ford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tamara?
I have so many, but I'll just pick 2. The oldest that I remember being my appointment TV was Little House on the Prairie, Monday nights on NBC. And then the one that I remember being the appointment TV with my dad was we watched Dallas and Falcon Crest on Friday nights on CBS.
We do another round with what you weren't allowed to see.
Right.
And David, what's yours?
I have a bunch. MASH. I mean, from when I was really
MASH. So
MASH.
But that's not that old.
Well, for me, it feels old. MASH, by the way, I'm sorry if there's noise. Someone's printing in the printer behind me. MASH, what else? There was Lucy, I Love Lucy was appointment viewing for me.
Yep.
What else? Gosh. I mean, even later on, ER was serious appointment viewing for me.
All of NBC Thursday was appointment viewing for most of
Always
America.
say again?
Do you remember 30
all
something?
Of NBC on Thursday night, because Thursday night at ER was 11 o'clock and Friends was 8 o'clock.
Yes.
And they owned that night for years.
Since Cosby.
I think
okay, Tamara, tell us about the wall of programming. Did you ever go past the programming wall at the studios, and they were putting the postcard? What you know what I mean by?
Yeah, so ours was
because the competition, you're up against somebody.
Yeah. So what I can tell you from when I this was 25 years ago, so long ago. But every May, every studio has ours were like little tiles. They're colorful tiles. So every network had a little tile, and you can move things on and off pretty easily. But the thing that would happen every May was everyone would get little pieces of paper that they could go into, and all the executives would go into closed door meetings where they would like hash out what the next thing was going to be. Very early on as an internship, I worked in network research, and those guys would say, okay, on Monday nights, this show does really well. And so this show, and they would go through every single new pilot and say where it should fit on the schedule. And then they would kind of hash it out and figure out that schedule, which they would announce in May at upfronts, which they still do, but it's a little bit lesser than it was then, to get all of the advertising sold.
Okay. I just Googled shows from the 80s, because that's what the stuff that I'm going to remember. And I forgot, like, the A-Team, the Cosby Show.
A-Team I loved.
I love Night Court. I loved Greatest American Hero. I think that was older than that, though. Good.
I loved Greatest American Hero.
My husband just walked by and snuck in the corner, and he said, 1950s, Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
There you go. Yeah. Cheers. So look, I mean, this is fun.
And ABC had the Friday night comedy, family comedy night. They had that kind of locked in.
You know, now we don't ask anymore. So what's on tonight? Right. That's not the question.
Well, I ask myself. I have a schedule.
But is it live TV?
Yeah.
Okay. Most people, other than Lois, don't say what's on tonight. Right. And now it's what do I feel like watching? Now it's, you know, it's let's peruse through Netflix and all these other Amazon Prime and all these other services. And what it means, though, there's what to be said about the content of the shows that we're watching. But the piece that interests me is the shift from shared schedules to personal schedules. That we've lost that water cooler connection, that shared experience. It feels like we're missing something.
I think it's bigger than that.
Did you see that TikTok? Did you see that YouTube? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think it's not just shared experiences. It's shared experiences with someone who fundamentally doesn't believe the same things that you believe. Because we are now in a situation where not only do we watch Netflix and we watch things on on our own schedule, your homepage of your Netflix looks completely different than the homepage of my Netflix. It's completely different. Like the chances of us even finding the same shows is like next to nothing. So I think one of the things that we're really lacking is the ability to share an experience and have a conversation with people who don't believe the same things that we do. And so you never had to talk politics. You never had to talk religion. You never had to talk anything else when you had something that was a shared experience that you could both enjoy and could base a friendship off of. And I think that's a huge loss.
Yeah, Lois, jump in, and Tony.
So I hear what people are saying about everybody had the same experience. But do you remember when you were a kid? Now, this was in the 1960s. And do you remember going to school and there was a whole bunch of kids around and a bunch of them were talking about what they saw last night? And there were the kids on the edge of the room who hadn't seen it because they didn't have a TV. And so they would listen, and then eventually, once they figured out what was going on, they would pretend that they'd seen it. But I don't think we were quite as monolithic as people seem to remember us being.
Well, we were in the mass media era.
Right.
Media wasn't as mass until we got things like radio and television.
Broadcast, not narrowcast.
And cable TV came along, gave you narrowcast and bundles and that sort of thing.
And your local station.
Yeah, I kind of felt that network TV got broken after a writer's strike, and then reality TV took over, and it wasn't real. And we all knew it. And it broke our trust in storytelling because they were just manipulating us with will he or won't he? Are they, won't they? Is he going to get voted off the island? None of that really mattered in our real lives, as they might if you're watching an episode of ER and everybody's talking about how amazing it was, that was the problem and nobody could figure it out. So you got that sense that you were participating in the viewing with other people, and then you couldn't wait to get to it. I had a crew of people on a Friday morning who had to set up for a live show, and they were watching Hill Street Blues, the bunch of them. them on Thursday nights. And then they'd come in and it was like Gossip City. You'd think there were little old ladies with knitting. Just, did you believe what he said to his wife the other? And I'm going, I'm not watching the show. I'm kind of busy on Thursday night, so I'm not watching the show. And I was really intrigued by the effect it had on them as a collaborative thing that they could all talk about while working, while doing their job.
And that's exactly that's the
Right.
experience that I fear that we've lost.
Okay,
Tony,
so Nick,
hold on
so
1 second, Scott. Let me
sorry,
just get Tony.
Tony. Yep.
I just want to say, I think the last corporate or group of viewing that really included everybody, at least for me, was Game of Thrones. Because it seems as if that was always a conversation the next day.
I haven't seen Game of Thrones.
Never saw it.
It's so funny.
Wow.
Wait, real quick vote. I didn't see it either. Who's watched Game of Thrones here? 2 people. That's hysterical.
I tried.
Oh, Tony
Okay,
and I
how
well, you
about
see, Tony and I got the message. You see, the memo came and you guys weren't. Anyway, yeah.
But
The
Game
other
of
one, of course,
Thrones
is
would
Roots.
have been
What
a show
started
that I
all that
watched.
was Roots. Roots was the first of those to do the miniseries over weeks and really draw the audience. That one was amazing.
And there was the landing on the moon. Do y'all remember that?
That was also,
biggest
you know what?
Distinctly remember that.
But so
That was a global
that's
audience.
actually interesting, Lois,
That-
because we do still have that, right? Like the other a couple weeks ago when I'm forgetting the name, we had the big launch.
The Artemis,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a worldwide. Like everyone was kind of watching. So you're right. We haven't lost it completely.
I
Oh, I
was
was talking about the
running-
first
Oh,
one.
yeah.
No, I know.
Not-
you were
I was
talking
running
about-
a
I know.
There was a casino
And
I was running on the night the Artemis launch was going to happen at 4:30 in the afternoon our time. And I had the whole gang around me with my phone watching the launch. Like it was on the counter there and they all are on either side of me watching this event. They had all forgotten it was happening that day and they never had their own connection to it. And we all watched the Artemis launch on my phone with a casino going on around us.
So
Nobody
that's
paying any
another
attention.
interesting shift, is that instead of us all gathering at a movie theater or around a big screen TV, we're now sitting around Dave's iPhone with 4 people staring at this little tiny screen.
Well,
Watching
no,
a
he's got
earth-changing
he's got
event.
the phablet,
the
so he's got
Max.
the bigger
Max,
bigger
yeah,
one.
sorry. Sky, go ahead.
Well, I'm just curious because I'm going to tease us now because I'm actually anticipatory about the next Ted Lasso that's coming out. I'm kind of giddy and want to see it. I want to see it together communally. And then, but I did see on FIFA. Oh, not a fan. Not a fan.
I know.
Wow.
I never got into it. Just never got into it.
You have it
Never
is
saw
it's
it.
like beer. It is definitely an acquired taste. But once you do, oh, the writing is just stellar.
But
that's
But
my
I-
something else.
but
out,
I
and this
won't
goes
watch
for-
that
and
appointment.
Clarkson Farm is the other one that I'm good. It's
But
number
here's
5
the
is
problem
coming
with
out.
these. Here's the problem with these, and this I think goes for Game of Thrones also, Tony. The reason I never got into Game of Thrones is that I don't have HBO,
There, that was my barrier.
and you know, and the reason I'm not into Ted Lasso is because I don't have Apple TV, and so this is another piece
And
of
you
the
call
puzzle
yourself
here,
a
is that
fan.
because now everything is gated behind walled gardens, all the content. Not
And
all
this
the
is
content,
starting to
of
happen
course.
with
It always
sports.
has been. It always
Sports,
has
you
been.
used to be able to watch
No,
with
things
everybody,
on
right? You got a
CBS and
party, you
NBC.
had the
CBS,
Super Bowl, you
NBC,
did the
was
But that's
thing.
FIFA. FIFA caught that one, and they're intentionally creating watch parties, and they are
Yeah.
supporting it because for a $10,000 ticket for a nosebleed seat,
Mhm.
but we still want to,
Yeah.
play soccer together.
Oh
Because
yeah, but
it is
everything in
the
Italy
world's
stops
sport.
when the team is playing. You know that, right? It's a national holiday in Italy when the team plays. So
Sports
Italy,
may be
the
one,
world
sports may
stops.
be
yeah,
sports and science,
Yeah.
given what Lois said, may be 2 things that
Oh, yeah.
break this
we
rule.
feel are important.
You know
enough.
that
A
that
lot of-
still bring us together.
There's a sort of a shift from a water cooler situation. And by the way, the water cooler situation is if you are working for a large company and therefore you have a water cooler with people hanging out around it. But if you think
I don't
about-
agree. I don't agree.
No, I
Lois.
don't agree.
I worked at a small
What?
school, and we would all hang out in the teacher's room and talk about what we
You had a
watched.
water cooler?
Okay, it's not the water. It's not the,
She's just playing with us.
I'm peeking again, man. It's okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
All right. But think about this. I see something and I think it's really interesting. And I tell all my friends about it and I say, go watch this thing and then let's talk about it. So it's more like we're creating our personal book club. And that's the people that are coming together. We're seeing things separately. We're not getting together to stream something, but then we're intentionally arranging a time to talk about it. So maybe our water cooler is now morphed.
It's shifted.
Well, that's the
But I
original
think
origin.
we've shifted behaviors though, because here's the thing. You mentioned Ted Lasso. I'll watch Ted Lasso. I will absolutely not watch it one episode at a time. No way. I will wait until after the entire thing drops and then I'll watch the whole thing. So like that's a
I'm
completely
with you on that.
different behavior.
Yeah.
So while you're watching Ted Lasso one at a time, I'm going to watch whatever thing, the ever seasons that I haven't seen of something else. So, and I'll tend to wait until they're all done. I'll watch 4 seasons at a time as opposed to even 1 season to 2 seasons.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I've watched West Wing at least 12 times, every single season. I'll sit down and I will. It'll
Just
take me
finished
a week or two, but I'll watch every single episode in a row, and it's. I mean, that's
just as
now
good
that I
every
say
time.
that out loud.
Yeah.
Now,
realize
I
that that's a
did
little
watch
sick,
West
but-
Wing as appointment TV.
I did too.
When it came out.
Absolutely.
And I've watched it every year probably.
And
for
I'll
the
tell
last
you
week.
something that here's something else that it's changed. The new way that we consume media has either played into or has benefited from the next day delivery world that we live in, because I remember on what was it? West Wing was it Monday or Tuesday nights? I don't remember what night it was, but the next
Wednesday
morning,
for a while, Sunday for a while.
the next morning, I would already have a pit in my stomach that I had to wait, and I would be counting down the days. And now I can just
Brilliant writing.
But see, something else happened during the time of West Wing, because West Wing was up against around the same time as Sopranos. And if you recall, the first season of Sopranos, it was the longest we'd ever wait to see TV. Before you would go one season and then you'd get to rewatch the entire season over the summer to be ready for the second season. When Beverly Hills 90210 came out, they realized they could have a summer season. So then that shifted that. But here's the thing about Sopranos. It did not come back for like 18 months. And people came back anyways. And that was really the start of this idea that you can just let an audience wait. And what we have now, a season comes out and you have no idea when it's coming back. It could be coming back next year. It could be coming back 4 years from now. And you'll only get 12 of them.
So this was.
But who killed JR?
Seasons 3 and 4, in May 2001. From 2001 to 2003, there were 16 months almost of no shows.
Yeah, no new shows.
Yeah.
Yep.
One of the other things that you were talking earlier about movies.
I just let me just answer that question, Dave, real quick.
Coming back to the movies.
Dave, hold on 1 second. Let me just answer that question, because the reason why, according to at least this Reddit thread, is 9/11.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Was a big piece of that. So I'm sorry, Dave. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say that during the pandemic, I was asked to host a film discussion group, kind of like a book club for films. And what we would do is say one week, this is the film that everybody should try watching. And then they'd all either see it on a streaming service or go to the library and get a DVD. And some of them were very old films, like Cat in the Hot Tin Roof from 1954, all the way up to the most current ones, Oppenheimer, that kind of thing. And then we'd have a really good 2.5-hour discussion. People could drink wine in their own home. They could have popcorn for watching the movie when they watched it. But you had all week to watch the movie. And then you came in on Monday to talk about it. And it was because of Zoom that we were able to do this, because the primary mover of this had his own Zoom account because he's a professor. It didn't cost him anything to gather 24 people together to talk about a movie. And I was part of the group, and I'd offer a movie occasionally, and they would offer movies to us, and we'd debate which one, because you do that in a book club. And this is a new way of getting a community to talk about something at the same time. It isn't serial television like we used to do with the water cooler thing that, was so enamored, but it is a new way of putting community together, which is what we're doing in Rundown every week, is telling stories to each other and talking about stories or reacting to what's going on in the world and then having that discussion about it. And this is a water cooler all on its own, except I have coffee here, so. Yeah.
It's all right. Coffee's good. Scott, go ahead.
I have iced coffee, and it was yummy because I put brown sugar, something from Trader Joe's in it. But the storytelling component that Lois was talking about earlier that's the theory that I've heard historically. That's how story was the response. The vehicle of story was communicating to people what happened to the tribe, to a stranger that would walk in. Now, one person would be the story keeper, but everybody would relegate the authority of that story from that storyteller. So back to the HBO barrier to entry and into The Sopranos. I didn't want to watch that. I'd heard it was really good writing, but I didn't have HBO. But what I heard about the difference between broadcast and cable was they already have your money on cable. And why they have to be so circumspect on broadcast is because its corporate sponsorship doesn't want your audience to be offended. And then, oh, you put money against that show that said bad words. And so there's a whole, follow the money in this conversation, as well as the streaming component. Because Tamara, I'm very sorry that you said you watched, West Wing so many times. I had the box set of DVDs ready to ship to you, but the Blu-rays outwon, and then now whatever.
And by the way, Tamara, the
delivery of choice.
Your mentioning of the West Wing play version, I remember that.
Yeah, I was around, that was the time period that I was at Fox at that time period, and our studio shut down because we were that target studio that they were talking about. Because right next to in the Fox Tower, Reagan and Cheney had offices at the top, so we were the target.
Gotcha.
But all the studios shut down.
So, I sometimes when I'm on this show, I feel like a real Luddite. I'm not. I'm very good with tech, but you are all talking about places where you can go and say, I want to watch this show, that season, whatever. You're picking it out and you're seeing it. I have cable TV, which means I have lots of options, but I'm not going to pick out a particular show to watch because that's not the way it works. And so a lot of the things that are being talked about tonight are things I've never experienced. I mean, if I look at Channel 64 and there's the American Pickers and they got 3 in a row, that's great. But I can't go and say, I want to watch this now. So I'm sort of standing in the back of the room listening to.
Well, it's interesting. Even on cable, you can do that now because if you've got Xfinity, you can, they have their own library of stuff. And I find myself
video on demand. Yeah.
Yeah. When I sit down at the TV on a Sunday afternoon or something, I find more often than not, I'm watching a movie that I've already watched 300 times before because there's nothing interesting on, and I sort of feel the same way about Netflix, and there's very little that nowadays that would be appointment television for
on the home screen for Roku is an entire 24/7 Great British Bake Off. That is such our go-to. It's benign. There's hardly any competition.
That's fair.
It's polite. It's polite, even in the rude, Paul Hollywood way, and somehow somebody feels good about it, and you learn stuff.
So, I think I drift back to old TV though, because I really do miss
me
a
TV.
26 episode, 20 episode season where you really got to know characters. So now that everything is in like 12 is your big, but like really 6 to 8 episodes is where things are landing. They have these beautiful, lots of stars, beautiful setups. Everything is so lovely, but you just don't get, and it's not even that it's bad writing. There's some great writing out there. So it's not even that, but I just feel like there's something
It's the
that's
connection.
missing out
It's
of
the
that connection of
just-
getting to know more. And I'm a little soap girl. So I like, even now I'll watch YouTube of like old soaps that were on, and I'm like, just that everyday stuff that was written. It was so brilliant. And I just don't feel like I get that. I'm not connected in the same way that I was when you just invested that much time into one group of characters.
Here's the banner here's the banner on my
MASH.
Netflix right now. And I want to be clear, I've never in the history of my existence watched soccer. Never.
Right.
The banner on my Netflix is not even a TV show.
Right.
It's a video game. Number one, I've never played a video game. Number two, I've never watched soccer. So
No, but I 3 minutes ago I said FIFA, and you think the microphone was turned off?
that's true.
Silly you.
Good point.
Silly you.
Good call. Yeah. Yeah.
Glad I didn't say something.
I'd like to bring in the fact that the streaming has given, it started with cable channels, where HBO was a cable channel and you could subscribe to it.
Mm-hmm.
And it allowed HBO to do things they couldn't do on network TV, tell a better story, take longer to develop characters, to have arcs in the story that were more interesting than just getting to the commercial break. And people were really intrigued by better stories from Rome, from Sopranos, to all the other ones that really hit widely and got everybody to sign up for HBO. The cable companies ruined it by attaching other things to HBO so that it would cost you more to pay for it, because you got 5 other channels you're never going to watch. And then we were watching baking shows and that sort of thing on other channels. I think, movies have always had that opportunity to tell a story in its entirety for a common audience. Theater is the same way. These ancient stories are still being told in theater, and the Greek trauma is still a very big theme in a lot of things, opera included, just for Twilight's benefit. But I think I've been reading McGilchrist far too much lately, and he talks about how the left brain has pretty much dominated and has devalued story. And as a result, it devalues sharing experiences. Now, that's where story is a way when people share an experience. It was mentioned earlier about, the guy left the cave and he learned a better way to hunt, and he came back with it and everybody hunted better. I think this group is great because we're sharing experiences about these new technologies we're having fun with, and we're learning what a new community is like. And we're, like Lois says, we're always talking about, it used to be like this, or my experience with that was, the church service I couldn't attend was on the Zoom call and I could watch from my bed. So these kind of things are what we talk about here every week, is how it's changing who we are. And I think it's really wonderful. But I think story is always, for human development, the way we do things. And there isn't a culture on the planet that doesn't have a storytelling tradition, because it's the way things are transferred and shared. I wonder if AI becomes sentient and takes over itself, what myth will it operate by?
There's, you raised a really good point that this change is not necessarily a bad thing. One of the things that it's made me think about is the types of communities that shared media or lack of shared media creates. Shared media, when not everyone, but when most people are watching the same thing, there's no space for, there's very little space for what I really care about, and finding other people who share that deep value or that deep care. What we have now, instead of these, everyone's watching X, Y, or Z, we have Tony and Dave who are watching Game of Thrones, and we have Sky and Lois who are watching, and the communities that are built, the micro communities that are built, may be even stronger than those macro communities that we have had up until now. Tony, go ahead.
The other thing, I agree with you. And the other thing I would say is that I kind of look at it a little bit differently in terms of the 10 episode thing. Because for me, the 10 episode thing is really like a mini movie because it'll be 50 minutes, which is almost an hour. And so you have literally 10 hours of a season. And so that, I mean, you know, I think that's a great thing. I'm really sort of, I'm just a sci-fi geek. And so when it comes to anything that's sci-fi, you know, Babylon 5 and all the Star Treks and Galaxy Beyond, Babylon 5,
Battlestar Galactica.
Battlestar Galactica, anything that's Time Tunnel. I would just go way back. Time Tunnel, you know, any Lost in Space, you know, anything that's sci-fi.
Twilight Zone.
I love it. And so now my newest thing is I'm all in on the new season. Well, the recent Star Trek, the Strange New Worlds. I think that's one of the best Star Treks that they have ever created. I love them all. But, you know, that 50 minutes of the 10 episodes, I think that's great.
Lois, go ahead.
So we have, okay, I'm old. I used to believe that everybody that I met shared common experiences. Now, what we're talking about here is the water cooler type common experience, watching the same media. That's not happening anymore. What happens to our assumptions about the world? I mean, when I moved from backwoods Michigan into California, I met a whole lot of different people, and they did not have the same experience as I did. But we still, as human beings, assume that everyone that I meet is going to think like me, is going to be, you know, like me, until they're proven that they're different. I think that is a normal human expectation. And so if I've never watched Game of Thrones and you think that everyone has, well, then you might be talking about stuff that I have no clue what you're doing. WDC, what?
Right.
So
we all speak different languages.
Making ourselves isolated individually?
Well, I would argue, and then I'll let everyone else argue, that yes and. Everything is yes and. We're not isolating by ourselves, but we are grouping in much smaller groups. It's like social media, right? We surround ourselves with the voices that we want to hear. And so the same is true with, you know, like I said before, Tony and Dave, they can talk about Game of Thrones all day. It's you know, it just, that doesn't mean they're isolated. It means that they are just in a smaller bubble. Can I just bring up one other thing before I jump to Tony? And one of the reasons why this topic was interesting to me is that I remember lots of discussions on office hours with Alex about the future of conferences and keynotes, for example, and how what he imagined was you have your keynote speaker in a studio, right? High quality equipment and no audience. But in all the different cities, people aren't watching alone on their computers. They're actually coming into theaters and watching this event. So there you've got, it's a digital first event, but you still have that shared experience that I've been talking about. That's the piece that's been ringing in my ear this whole time. Is that because I don't see that happening, and I wonder if that's still possible.
It is, by the way.
It is happening.
IMAX
it is happening.
Okay, all right, good. Tony, jump in.
I was just going to echo what you were saying about I think a lot of the water cooler moments are definitely on social media. I think that it may not be as prolific as it has been in the past, but I think that a lot of the engagement with people is on social media about a particular, program. And the other thing I want to say that I think that the office hour experience is as you say a role model for the way in which people have an opportunity to engage with one another. The reasons that Conversation with Tony Mobley exists is because what office hours was doing, I really thought other people should have an opportunity to have those engaging conversations. And that this was an opportunity to have conversations about not just technology, but everything. And so that's the reason that I'm doing this thing, and I will continue to try to do this thing. But people, one of the biggest things, as you mentioned when you talked about Alex Lindsay, was that this is an opportunity for people who ordinarily would not be able to participate in an event, would be able to engage with one another. And quite frankly, even though we have moved back to the old model, it will never be the same. And we can look at it from the houses of worship to the way people go to theaters, you name it. We have forever been changed. But I think that there needs to be a more of a push for having the kinds of conversations that we're having right now, the things that I had a fantastic training session in after hours with Chris Fenwick about using Final Cut Pro. Here is a professional editor who is teaching me, little old me, in South Atlanta, about how to use a professional editor in California is teaching me how to do this. So we are in a position where change has forever been, but I think this is a positive thing because, like I said, I'm just a regular person. And then I had to have this one-on-one. And the other thing I know I'm over time talking. The last thing I want to say is he specifically said, this is for Tony. Everybody's welcome to watch and listen, but this is for him. Fantastic.
I think it's two
Join
separate
us
things.
next Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. on Rundown, the live show that may or may not have a point, but it will always be fun.
We'll always be doing it. Yes.
I think the thing is that I miss.
You're welcome, Dave.
I agree 10,000%.
Need some music.
That people have been able to find each other like people have been able to find like people, and that we've been able to go deeper in conversation. And I think that is amazing and life-changing. The piece that is missing is the piece that in my household, we had to fight over who was going to watch which television show.
Right.
So even though I could talk about the thing the next day, that maybe was not my first choice. That was my second or third choice. I lost that week, right? So a lot of times people watched things that they would not ordinarily be exposed to, but they were exposed to it because they lost the fight in the room that day, or there just wasn't anything else that seemed more appealing than that thing. But then they were part of a cultural conversation because they had watched the thing. And that piece of it is the piece that I feel like we have to fight for. We have to fight for theater. We have to fight for movie theaters. We have to fight for shared spaces where people can sit down with the guy next to him who doesn't believe anything like them and turn to them at intermission and go, wow, did you see that? Because that piece is detrimental to our society. What you're talking about, Tony, is the positive and is the most amazing thing that technology has to offer. And I believe in that at 10,000%. But I also think we're missing something by not being able to have shared experiences of people who don't know anything like us, who don't think the same way.
If we don't, Lassie will be out of a job and little Jimmy will be down that well and nobody will save because Lassie doesn't have
little Jimmy. Yeah.
So one of the things
sad day.
that thinking about what Tamara's just saying, we had some work done in our house. So I had construction folks coming in and working on the house. And these are people who have, I don't know them, and they don't have any inclination towards what my political persuasion is or anything else. And so how do I meet them? How do I talk to them? Well, we settled on artwork. I showed them my art and they said, oh, that's cool. How'd you do that? And that got us going. So no matter whether or not we have a shared media experience to lean into, I think it behooves all of us to talk to people that aren't like us. I mean, wherever you meet them, just talk to people.
Happy talky, happy talk.
Oh my God, what is that
I guess
from?
the feeling I have is that we still
South
want a
Pacific.
story. We still
Absolutely.
need stories, and we need a common myth that connects us. We had before we had great transportation issues and great communication technologies. People were living in geographic areas and had common stories and common myths. And now we have, we all understand Greek myth, but I'm not Greek. So the sense that we have a new myth that has to be created around what we do today and how we do it is something I think more of us need to be working on.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm getting kicked out of my office because it's after 10:15 my time. And I've got the printer going and other noise behind me, so I apologize. But what a great conversation. And so here's what I'm taking away. Here's my next question. Okay, you know what? Apple had a one more thing. We're going to have my next question. That I just decided. Here's my next question for next week. So
Inspired.
we're not all watching the same thing anymore. We're gathering in different ways. We're connecting in different ways. We're creating community in different ways. What is it that captures our eyes and our ears and our attention nowadays? What is it? How do we capture eyes and ears and attention? Shiny. That's my question.
That'll be
That's
fun.
my next
That'll
question.
be a
So
fun talk.
we will work
Yeah.
on that for next week. In the meantime, I'm so grateful for
Thursday
Tony
night,
and Lois
9
and
p.m.
Tamara
Eastern.
and Dave and Sky. They are all my next things, my shiny things, and I'm so grateful that all of you hang out with me every Thursday night. By the way, if any of you would like to come hang out with us, you're always welcome to. Just hit us up on Discord. We'd love to have you. Absolutely, definitely come on
Bring
over.
more popcorn.
And we'll bring the popcorn. Dave will bring the barbecue.
Yes.
We are here every Thursday night. Tomorrow morning is another episode of Office Hours. Come with your questions tomorrow afternoon. We will continue to play in the Zoom test kitchen. Boy, we had some fun last week with all the new little toys that they released. We will continue playing with that next week, and we will see all of you next Thursday on The Rundown. Have a good night.